I'm just going to announce to our service providers who are joining us today that we're not using our chat. And so we're suggesting either you just pass on your information to cpo1leaders@gmail.com, and they'll get that posted with minutes. Or if you're able, if you've got a slide, you could put that up at the end of your presentation, even if it's a small, if you've got other suggestions, Virginia or Bruce. But we're not able to, yeah.
Ready. This is it.
We are live. Welcome everyone to the July 2024 meeting of CPO1, which means Community Participation Organization number 1. And we primarily focus on issues of land use. And for that reason, we enjoy sharing the land acknowledgement before every meeting. We acknowledge the people on whose land we live, the Atwaliti Kalapuyans, also known as the Tualatin Band of Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we are on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Celeste tribes, carrying on the traditions and cultures of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude for the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the Indigenous land and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribe to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces. And with that, we have several of our service providers. Lindsay Wachnick with Tualatin Valley Water District.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you virtually. Again, my name is Lindsay Wachnick, and I'm with the Tualatin Valley Water District. As you're well aware, I'm sure, with this hot weather, we're serving a lot of water, about 37 million gallons of water per day, and probably even higher today to our over 226,000 customers. So just a bit of news there. I have a couple of water infrastructure project updates to share, so I'll go through those pretty quickly. We are doing a project on Barnes Road. We've built a pump station, and we're installing water main underground that will provide water up the hill to the Catlin Crest and Viewmont neighborhoods. So we're working through that project. Our next step is this week, we're going to be drilling underneath Barnes Road. It's a trenchless method of drilling, and pretty cool to see. We're going to work on that this week beginning, and then that should be done mid-July. So it's kind of I'll have more pictures to show you at our next meeting. And then after that, we'll work on installing water up Viewmont Drive and then make all those connections and start that pump station. If you want to learn more about that, you can go online. It's at tvwd.org and then the /Barnes Road, and that's all one word. And then the second project to share a quick update is the West Lawn Terrace water main replacement project. We've talked about this before. We're going to be replacing about 800 feet of the current water main on Northwest West Lawn Terrace from Northwest 128th Avenue to 130th Avenue. And we're going to be replacing that old main with a new 8-inch ductile iron water main. And that project's expected to start in September, October of this year. And you can look for an article detailing that project in the August Cedar Mills News magazine, courtesy of Virginia. Thank you so much for that. And you can learn more about that project at tvwd.org/Westlawn. And those are all my updates fit to print. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now we have actually the only other, we've got Tabitha Alkire from the Sheriff's Office. Tabitha.
Thank you for having me. Yep, I'm with the Washington County Sheriff's Office with our Public Affairs Community Outreach team. Some public affair news. We do have National Night Out coming up. It is always the first Tuesday of August. We do ask if you are wanting deputies or anyone from our office to be at your National Night Out event to sign up by July 19th. That is on our homepage on WCSO. So please sign up if you are wanting that. We just also want to put out a scam alert. If you receive any sort of call saying your grandson or your daughter or your son is in jail and you have to pay a certain amount of dollars to bail them out of custody, that is a scam. We have a lot of scam information currently on our social media pages. So that could be on our Facebook, our website, Instagram. They have created some videos about this type of scam that is happening, unfortunately, in our community. And then we just also want to pass along some summer safety updates. So water safety, make sure if you're going on the boat, wear a life jacket. If you are traveling, make sure you let your neighbors know that you're leaving the house, locking up all your doors. And then home alone safety. So if your child is home alone, make sure you go over as an adult, the rules with them and having phone numbers available, knowing 911 and non-emergency. So those are all things that we want to make sure people are aware of with the summer safety guide. And there is more information on our website with the June newsletter about summer safety. That is all I have for you. I do have our calls for service map, but our actual deputy is not here, but I can still share it if you guys would like.
Actually,
Yeah,
we do
go
have a
ahead.
deputy here at the Cedar Grove.
Oh, you do? Okay, well, I will share it. I do
Oh, perfect.
apologize. Okay, so this is the calls for service map, and I'll let the deputy kind of take over from here if they would like.
Sure. Look at you. There you go.
Sorry, this is the first time I've been with this CPO. I usually go to CPO 7. My name is Deputy Rambin. I've been patrolling up here for multiple years. Looking at the crime map, looks like there's a lot of theft. A lot of it is centered around areas. Well, theft happens everywhere. It's pretty calm as far as crime maps goes. I've seen a lot worse. I've seen better. Ultimately, I'm here. If you guys have any questions, I'm free to answer any questions that you guys might have.
What does a trespass citation mean? How do you get a trespass citation?
There's a couple different ways. Oftentimes we'll go to the target at Cornell and Saltzman. And if somebody's stealing from there, they also want them trespassed, so they can be arrested for criminal trespass as well, or informed that they're trespassed. Other times somebody is where they shouldn't be and the business wants them to leave and they don't want to leave, we can trespass them there. That would be like the most common trespasses.
At a place of business.
Place of business, we can also trespass people from other people's homes.
Oh, yeah.
I think quite the cluster of calls down at Target. It definitely draws all kinds, let's say.
Yeah, Target keeps us pretty busy. But they do what they can. Retail theft happens everywhere, so it's not surprising that we have retail theft here. And we try to combat it as best we can. And our DA's office does a good job of prosecuting people who commit the crime of shoplifting.
Pam, you have a question?
Well, I just wanted to say that I was just at Target about an hour ago, and I noticed that they have a new security process as you go into the store. Were we involved in any way in that?
That I don't know, although I'm glad that they do. Admittedly, I haven't been in there in probably a couple weeks, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about. But I'm pretty close to there, so I might stop by and see what they got.
It was a scanner and there was somebody standing there and I just walked in and made my purchases, but I hadn't noticed that ever before.
Right. I found a handful of gift cards under a bush when we were doing the Cornell cleanup a couple of months ago. Under a bush out in front of Target. And I understand that the county has cleaned up and pruned up the mess of the overlook. Have you had experience with catching people over there? Do you know what I'm talking about? On Cornell, there's a little carved out area that has some really pretty basalt rocks and had some bushes that were covering, and people in behind were going in behind the bushes to live, it looked like, and probably use drugs and make a mess.
Are you talking, let's see here.
I drove
Sort of
by that
halfway
today.
between Saltzman and Murray.
Okay.
Virginia, I drove by that today and it was cleaned up.
Great.
I do know what you're talking about. Admittedly, I haven't actually been dispatched to a call there. So I couldn't tell you whether or not people are living there or have been living there or
Right.
doing any
Well,
other.
what we learned last month is that unless somebody is actually in the midst of committing an illegal act, that there's not much you guys can do about it. And most of the activity seems to happen in the middle of the night. But if
that
they
is
prune
true.
up the bushes, that's a good first step.
I will say that as it stands right now, somebody using drugs or being in possession of drugs is still a violation. So I would have to actually physically see them doing that,
right,
in order for me to be able to take enforcement action.
Right. I just wonder if a patrol, if every time a patrolman is, or woman, a patrol person is driving past there, if they could shine their spotlight into that area, that might be enough incentive for people to stop using it. You guys have directional spotlights, right?
We do, but they're a little difficult to aim directly across the car because then we blind ourselves and we can't see where we're driving.
Right.
Or if we're shining them across a lane of travel, we could be.
Oh no, you wouldn't want to do
driver.
that. You wouldn't want to do that. You'd have to be going westbound. But it's right there next to the lane of travel. If you're heading westbound, it might be something for our patrol to get into the habit of, just at night. Just shine the light there, and not with the intention even of catching anybody, but just with the intention of making it less comfortable. It's just an idea.
And I get that.
Do you have a regular patrol route in the evening, or is it kind of ad hoc depending on where?
It's kind of ad hoc depending on the calls for service.
I think we'll find out more about that during our presentation.
I get off work at 11 p.m., so I'm not out and about patrolling in the wee hours of the morning.
Okay. Well,
Jenya, we do have a question, I think, from Becky.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, can you make me co-host again so I can deal with this stuff? Becky, go ahead. There we go. You're able to speak now. I just finally got the power. Sorry for the delay. Becky, turn on your mic.
I did.
Great.
Got it? Okay.
We can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, Deputy, I'm sure you're tired of hearing about this, but I don't know the answer, so I'm going to ask. Is there anything we citizens can do about the horrors of M80s, mortars, etc., for like
Yeah.
2 weeks around the 4th of July.
Ah.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, this year again, for me, I live in Cedar Hills between Walker and Jenkins. It was truly horrible. You know, whoever they are, they wait until like the worst possible, like 1:30, 2:30. And they're just again the super loud like M80s slash mortars, and they often will wait like about 45 minutes after the first barrage. So maybe you just started to fall back asleep again, and then it goes again. And it started this year on June 30th, and it didn't end until Sunday.
I'm right there with you. I'm not a big fan of those types of fireworks either. Unfortunately, it's not illegal for people to go up to Washington and buy them. It's
Right.
it's not illegal for people to bring them back to Oregon. And then when they do set them off, it's typically, again, it's a violation, it's not a crime. So in order for a police officer to take a enforcement action on that, they have to basically catch them in the act. Somebody lighting a firework off on a random street is absolutely going to generate a lot of calls, and we appreciate those calls. But it's very difficult for us to try to figure out where that person is, and then they still have to be there when we get there. In addition to that, sometimes fireworks and firework calls, if they're not endangering property or people, they often get the priority level on those calls are often fairly low. And honestly, I think you guys would rather have us responding to priority calls such as domestics where somebody's being assaulted or a traffic crash where somebody's injured than responding to a fireworks call. We get it. We know they're an issue. We wish we could do more, but we are bound by the limitations of both case law and state law.
Okay. So which
Yeah.
laws, is it the county level that we want to try to change the law then?
It would be state level.
Really? Okay. All right. Appreciate the information.
I wish I could give you a better answer.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I guess I'll be calling my state representative then.
That would be
There
your
you
best
go.
option.
Will do. We all should. Okay.
Virginia, we got some TVFNR
Oh,
folks
good.
came in. Thanks, Dave.
Good evening.
Guys can, yeah, okay, very good.
Good evening.
Thanks, Jason. Evening. I'm not normally at this station, I'm working overtime today, but I'll do the best I can to answer your questions. I was just going to run through a few numbers and then open up the questions to you guys. So last year, our department ran close to 60,000 calls. Of those, just over 44,000 were medicals, and we had just under 1,500 fires, and then we had miscellaneous other calls, hazardous materials, other types of rescues and whatnot. So as you can tell, about 70% of the calls we run are medical calls. And so that kind of gives you an idea what we do on a day-to-day basis. So right now, as you guys are well aware, we are in the middle of the wildfire season, and we're preparing. In fact, today we're running in tandem with our brush rig. So any station that has a brush rig, they're taking that with the fire engine, just so that if a fire does come in, a wildfire, we can be better prepared to respond with it. I did bring some flyers, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to hand them out. They're what to do. I may leave them with you actually. Basically preparation for wildfires. So I'm going to open up to questions. Do you guys have any specific questions for us?
Anybody have questions?
There
Were there any calls for fires that got started by fireworks. We just were discussing fireworks with the sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, I heard that question. I was actually off on the 4th of July, so I don't know that answer. I'm gonna ask the crew if any of them were working. You guys working on the 4th? Nobody on my crew was working on the 4th, so I couldn't answer that. I
Okay.
would not be surprised that in the years past when I've worked, we have had fires caused by that. Sometimes with the fireworks landing on shake roofs, typically if they land on comp roofs, they don't cause an issue, but if they land on a shake roof, then they could light those shake roofs on fire.
Or
So what
even
happens
dry
when you nail
grass.
kindling to your ceiling?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I said also dry grass.
Yes, dry grass as well.
So
Okay.
Cassandra Olvin was talking about a program where the paramedic function would be sent out from TBFNR for like mental health engagement. Is that program active?
Yes, we actually have one of the guys in our crew as part of that. He may be able to speak to that. It's called the Advanced Practice Community Paramedic Program, and he actually went through the training, so he can probably speak to that a little bit better than I can.
So it's called the APCP program, Advanced Practice Community Paramedic. And the gist of it is that essentially there's a handful of us that can go out and establish contact with citizens who basically they might be a high utilizer. So having a same engine company or multiple crews responding to the same property frequently reduces their response reliability for things like fires and car accidents and other emergencies. So we can go around and help these people find the things that they need that might, because 911 is often not the answer for those people, and they need assistance finding other resources and connecting with that. So we can go and help those people connect. We've helped a number of people already get into housing or find other resources that essentially eliminated their problem. So it's helping to reduce the call volume and make resources more available. And then the advanced practice part of that is that we add ourselves to high acuity calls that are nearby. And so we can go and assist with critical things like intubation and cardiac arrest and things like that.
I wonder with this awful heat, if we've encountered any of the unhoused folks that have been in distress in this area.
I don't know specifically the unhoused, but I know that there's been a significant number of heat, well, they call heat and cold exposures, but this time of year it's not cold exposure. So it's a good reminder for people to, especially elderly, to limit the amount of physical exertion you're doing outside during the heat. Make sure you stay well hydrated.
What kind of rig do you take when you go on those calls?
Right now, they're old FJ cruisers that we've had in the pool for a while, but eventually they'll be getting some new cars, some Ford Explorers.
So you don't take the paramedic truck?
No, it's a single person resource. And if they need additional help, then the other car person on duty can come and assist them.
So there's no mental health clinician riding along with you like the sheriff?
No, but we coordinate with all the mental health agencies around and help them find resources. So it might be that we respond with the sheriff's office and their crisis team, or we call and consult with them, or we coordinate through hospitals and insurance and other state programs.
This is a wonderful program. I am so grateful that it is operating.
Another benefit is, as you said, they're a single person resource, but they're mobile and oftentimes roaming around. And so they're quicker than fire engine or an ambulance. So oftentimes they'll be the first in on a call, especially a high risk or a high acuity call, cardiac arrest or minutes matter. So
tomorrow I'm working a car in Newburgh and I'll be coming up to this area to see one of my clients. So.
Okay. Wow, that was very interesting. Thank you. We need to keep moving along. Pam, did you have comments? I wonder, are you going to be able to stick with us? we are kind of running late, and I didn't want to keep Sergeant Wilson on any extra length of time. Are you going to be here, or would you like to go ahead and make some comments now? So I'm leaving it totally up to you.
I'll be around, Virginia, and I don't have any prepared comments. I'm here to answer questions. I can talk about my town hall that's coming up next week. Thank you. But we had a good discussion today at the board about the letter in regard to CPOs and CCI, and I want to thank Bruce Bartlett for being there today to provide perspective. I think he did a great job. So I don't have anything in particular, but I am here.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell us about your town hall. And Sergeant Wilson, are you okay being a few minutes late into the program? And Tangerine, same thing?
Absolutely. Yep. The commissioner can give whatever info she needs to.
Great. Okay.
I'm going to be holding my first town hall, and it's going to be at the Opal, which is the new affordable housing for seniors that's over at the intersection of Salzman and Cornell. It's a beautiful location. I'll be downstairs in the community room there. And I don't have a big agenda for that meeting other than to listen to what your issues are and what your questions are. I'll probably give a few minutes overview, but other than that, it will be just time for us to talk.
And that is Thursday?
The 17th. And Virginia, I'm checking to see what the time is.
It's a Wednesday, the 17th, and I don't have the time in front of me. I think it's 6 to 7.
I do too, but I can check
right
here. And I'll get back to you. But I just want to invite everybody. It's one more opportunity to have open discussions about the issues in Washington County.
Great. Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and bring on Sergeant Wilson. He is going to, let me get my cheat sheet and read the official description so that we all know what we're going to hear. Washington County Sheriff's Office on speeding and other reckless driving behavior in the area. He is Sheriff's Office Sergeant Josh Wilson, Traffic Safety Unit, and he's going to explain how WCSO enforces traffic safety, what are areas of concern within our CPO, and how community members can report issues and help improve traffic safety, and whatever else he wants to tell us about. Thank you, Sergeant Wilson, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Part of what inspired it was I get some of my best ideas from the lively discussions we have on the Cedar Mill News Facebook group. And people were talking about speeding on Cornell east of Cedar Hills Boulevard, and speeding on Salzman, and extremely rude behavior, people passing on the left on a 2-lane street, and all kinds of stuff. So that's what inspired this, and we appreciate you coming along to straighten us out and tell us what we can do and what you guys do.
All right. Yeah, I have a good overview of our traffic safety unit at the sheriff's office, kind of how we operate, some of the different programs that we have available for drivers. If we do end up stopping them, what our complaint database looks like, and how citizens can report concerns, all of the different methods that you can use to report any traffic safety concerns, and then some data in the districts that are within CPO 1. And then if there's time, which I hope there is, I'll try and go through this quickly and catch us up a little bit. Hopefully I'll have some time for some questions from the group that I can answer. Real quickly, before we get into that, I did want to provide a little clarification on the fireworks issue. Our office, our goal with pretty much everything we do at the sheriff's office is voluntary compliance. We just want people to follow the laws. If we drive around and never have to take enforcement action on anybody, that's fantastic. But we're all employed for a reason, and fireworks is one of those things every year that does create a lot of community concern, anxiety. Myself, I have a 9-year-old Great Dane who, a big, huge dog like that, you think wouldn't have any problem with it, but he has torn apart my laundry room door one year. He's broken out of a kennel. He's deathly afraid of fireworks. And because our neighborhood where I live, we have neighbors who, same thing, always blowing off mortars, always blowing off the big M80s, super loud. It seems like there's more illegal fireworks than there are legal fireworks in my neighborhood. Our office generally takes the stance of we will always try and stop. If you call with a fireworks complaint on the 4th of July and there is active danger, like Deputy Rambin said, if there's an active danger to a house, if you see, obviously if you see a fire starting, but if you go and you see somebody shooting off mortars and you can see or hear the embers from that trickling down onto neighboring houses or your own, we will do our best to get out there and at least talk to the people who are lighting those off. And if they're receptive to that and are willing to let us take their fireworks and dispose of them, that's great. If not, we do have enforcement capabilities with that. It is technically the law is a low-level misdemeanor. It's a B misdemeanor crime. But I believe most of those are handled at the violation level, like Deputy Rambin was saying. If we can see it, that's going to be the best. If I can drive around the corner and watch some guy blow off his mortars into the air, I've got a visual and I can go right up to that guy and go, "Hey, I just saw what you did. Give me your stuff," and go from there. Most of the time, that's not going to happen, and it makes it really, really difficult to take enforcement action on it unless we have some other type of evidence. But that's how that typically goes. And frankly, honestly, we're so busy on the 4th of July, whether it's the traffic team going around to parades during the day, or whether it's patrol trying to chase all of these calls down at night, that it does make it pretty difficult to get to those. There's just no way around that.
Virginia,
We'll wait till the end to take questions, Becky. So if you want to lower your hand or write your question down, we'll be glad to hear from you later.
Okay, but it's just a quick follow-up now that he's talking about fireworks again. Could I please?
I'm okay with that. Go for it.
Okay, I want to say thank you for saying those things to me. It's not the 4th I'm concerned about. It's the week before and the week after where it continues on. And my last thing is just, why would we have to change it at the state level when, for example, Portland has banned fireworks? Why would we citizens out here have to go to the state level then?
Yeah, the county could, the county could pass their own ordinance with that. And I'm not as familiar with the process with that as I am with state legislation. I work with that with traffic safety stuff, but you could get a hold of your commissioners and or the board as a whole and talk to them about what that would take.
Will do. Thank you so much. Thanks, Virginia.
Yeah, there's our commissioner. We did ban them one year, didn't we? When there was extreme fire danger. Seems like there was a ban on fireworks, but that was only a temporary ban. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
All right. Let me try and share my screen here. Bear with me for a second while I get to it. And all right. Does that work?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Need to share screen.
Yes.
Little green button.
That well, let's see. Let's try that again.
There we go.
Okay. From beginning. Now.
Yay.
Okay, there we go. Great. And my camera's still up. I'll be looking to the side while I look at a different screen here. Okay. So our traffic safety unit here at the sheriff's office, we have 5 motorcycle deputies, 2 impaired driving or DUI cars, and 2 commercial vehicle or motor carrier enforcement deputies. They all have their own areas or their own specialties and their areas of responsibility. But including me, there are 10 people assigned to the traffic safety unit. And that number has held pretty steadily for, well, most of the time I've been at the sheriff's office for the last 20 years. I've been supervising the team now for, I think, about 3 years. But I've spent the majority of my career on the team as a DUI car and as commercial motor vehicle enforcement. Like I just said about fireworks and everything else that we do, our goal is just to get voluntary compliance. We want to be, through that, we want to be able to reduce crashes and save lives, obviously, with life safety being the most important thing that we do, and just helping make Washington County or keep Washington County as the safest urban county in Oregon. We have several traffic calming methods that we use in going out and doing what we do every day. We have education, obviously. We can stop a car for whatever the case may be, speeding, running a stop sign, running a red light, driving on the shoulder, unsignaled turn, and just have a conversation with them. Hey, this is what you did. This is why it's important that you don't do that. Please don't do it anymore. That's through roadside warnings or through public affairs, putting out the social media information. And then also we have several educational brochures that we can hand out from some that we've created and some that the Oregon Department of Transportation have created for things like distracted driving and speed and impaired driving and whatnot. If education doesn't seem like it's appropriate, if we get to the side of the road and somebody just doesn't seem like they're willing to listen to what we have to say, or the violation is egregious enough that we feel enforcement action is necessary, we can always absolutely issue a citation, or if it rises to the level of a crime, make the arrest. And the arrest can be either physical custody, into handcuffs and take them to jail, or it can be through a criminal citation with a mandated court appearance. And then we have compliance programs too at the office and in partnership with our county justice court. The justice court has their own traffic diversion course. If you've ever heard of DUI diversion, where somebody pleads guilty or no contest to the crime of DUI, and then they have a year to take classes and see treatment providers and whatnot, it's similar to that, but not as intensive. Our justice court program, a person has to plead guilty or no contest to whatever it is that they were cited for, and then they have to take a one-time traffic safety class. At the end of that class, they bring that or show proof of that completion to the justice court, and then they can't get another ticket for a full year. At the end of that year, our judge, Judge Cross, will pull that citation out of the file, make sure that they've complied with everything, and if they haven't received another citation during that time, then the citation that they entered the program in is dismissed, and they don't have to pay the fine on the citation. It's only for the only fees associated are the court fee and the fee for the program. We have a vehicle compliance program, which is our fix-it ticket program. That's primarily for registration and equipment issues. So if you get a citation for for your registration tags being expired, or for lights being burned out, or something like that, you have about a month to get it taken care of. Bring it into the East Precinct, where I'm at now, over here on Murray Boulevard, on any Wednesday between 9 and noon. Show the deputy there that you got it taken care of. They stamp it. You go to the justice court, pay a small administrative fee, and they dismiss that citation. Again, nothing goes on the driving record. No fee for the no presumptive fine payment on the citation. And then we have a newer program, our No Oregon Driver's License program, which is a deferred adjudication program. So it's similar to the Justice Court's diversion program, but this is for people who don't have valid driving privileges. We want people to have valid driving privileges because that means that they've studied the material. They've gone and they've taken a test, a written test and a driving test, and they're supposed to know the rules of the road by then. Whereas somebody who hasn't done any of that and doesn't get their license is a riskier driver on the road. So we have a program where they have an avenue to go get their driver's license and show that to the court and have that citation dismissed without paying the fine on the citation, without it going on their driving record or anything like that. They're all very effective programs. The vehicle compliance program and the justice court diversion have been around for years, and I imagine that the ODL deferred adjudication program will stick around. They're all very effective. There's just some pictures of what our brochures look like. In addition to those other ones we talked about, down here on the bottom, the big one is one example of our parking and abandoned vehicle tags. So if you call in and say, hey, this car's been parked on my street for 6 months, nobody's touched it, it's got a flat tire, whatever the case may be, a deputy can come out, take a look at it. Depending on what type of vehicle it is and what the issue is with it, It will depend on if it's gonna get a sticker requiring the vehicle to move, or or what needs to be done with the vehicle for it not to get towed. It can be disabled, it could be abandoned, it could be an RV parked on the street for too long. It could be a commercial vehicle parked in an area where commercial vehicles are prohibited. A hazardous vehicle. There are a whole slew of things that a vehicle could receive one of these big stickers for. And then if they don't move the vehicle, then usually about 48 to 72 hours later, that vehicle is going to be subject to tow. All right. This, I think, is probably what I get most questions on. How do we report problems in our neighborhood? Our office, and primarily the traffic safety unit, we have an internal database where no matter how you report a traffic problem in your area, we try and get every one of those complaints into this database so that my deputies on my team have one central repository that they can go to, look for issues in their beats, and go out there and work as many of them as they can. And it can be for anything. It can be for, probably the most common is speed or people not stopping at stop signs, but it could be for parking. It could be for aggressive driving. It could be for failing to stop for a school bus, a parking issue, you name it. If it's traffic related, we'll put it in here. You can see on the bottom half there, that's what our database looks like. It has the date that the complaint came in, the date that it was entered into our system, who the complainant is, the reason for it, the disposition, whether it's still pending, whether it's been worked, whether it's a repeat complaint, because we try and only work one active complaint at a time for the same area and the same issue. If it turns out it belongs to Hillsborough or Beaverton or whatever, we forward it on to them. Or if we get out there and find out, it's not really a problem, and maybe it's a perception issue. There are different dispositions for that. And then obviously the beat and the location, the actual location. Up on top, you'll see a heat map. And red is crashes. This is just one screenshot I took of the county for demonstration purposes. But you can see the red dots are crashes. The blue dots are where traffic stops have taken place. So if I go back 6 months and plot all of that, it'll show me where every traffic stop and every crash was for a 6-month period. And before I move on to the next slide, that'll show you our website. You can make a complaint just about any way you can think of. You can get online to our sheriff's office website, fill out the online complaint form. You can call dispatch. If a deputy is available in your neighborhood, they'll try and come out during their shift and take a look at it. I can tell you that with staffing the way it is the last few years, that doesn't often happen because they're busy going call to call to call from the start of their shift to the end of their shift very, very frequently. But file an online complaint. You can do it by phone, either to dispatch or to the sheriff's office. CAD is just, if you call into dispatch, it's going to go into the dispatch system, and either a deputy will work it or they'll fax it over to me. Or maybe you just see a deputy on the side of the, driving by while you're out for your walk or whatever, and you flag them down and say, "Hey, I got this traffic problem." They'll get that forwarded to the team. All right. Here's, if you want to get online and fill out the complaint form, this is what the screen's going to look like when you get into our website. So you'll go to the sheriff's office homepage and into patrol division overview, and there's a page in there for traffic safety. And then down, you can see near the bottom, there are several links down there. One of them is file a traffic complaint. The third one down is radar trailer deployment. So if you've seen our radar trailers out and about with the speed limit posted and then the digital display as you drive by telling you what your speed is, we have a couple of those that we can deploy throughout the county as well for the unincorporated areas. So either the first one or the third one or both, whichever of those you want are looking for, you can fill those forms out. Right underneath that, right at the very bottom of that slide, there's one that says Dear Motorist Program. If you see a car do something and you can get a reasonable description of the driver, and you can get the license plate and what the make of the car, if you can get a lot of solid information on that vehicle, maybe it's a guy driving through your neighborhood, doing the same thing day after day after day after day. And so you're constantly seeing this car and you can get that info. It doesn't have to be, but that's usually the most common one. You can get on there and fill out a Dear Motorist letter, and we can just fill out a form that says, hey, so-and-so, we'll mail it to the registered owner of the vehicle, and we'll say, hey, so-and-so, a citizen reported you doing whatever it is they were doing. Please don't do that. It's not safe. You risk crashing, you risk injuring somebody. This isn't a citation. We're not going to report it to DMV, but please just be mindful. People are watching. Please stop doing what you're doing.
We had a lot of people reporting 2 or 3 folks with dangerous behavior around Saltzman and Cornell, and I didn't know about this. So that's a really good option. Thank you.
Salt, I'm going to write that one. I'm writing down every location I hear about as we're going through the meeting, and I'm trying to write them down to cross-check later on and see what we have in our database. So here's your other methods. Again, call dispatch. We've got non-emergency dispatch, just the regular non-emergency number. If you see something that's just so out of your mind, like, I can't believe I'm seeing that, they're going to crash, they're going to kill somebody right now, please call 911. If you're behind somebody and they're swerving all over, or they're drifting over into the lane next to them, or whatever the case may be, and you think, oh, that guy might be drunk, or he's so busy in his phone that he's going to cause a crash, please don't hesitate to call 911 in those situations. I'm proud to say that our office is, just based on my experience, one of the few left who will actively go out and seek out the drivers. If you call in and say, hey, I think I'm behind a drunk driver, or I'm behind a reckless driver, we will go, as long as we have a deputy available, and go try and track that driver down as you're on the phone with dispatch. Even if a deputy is on a lower priority call, as long as they're not on something so important they can't clear, a lot of times we'll even clear other calls to go chase those people down and get them stopped, to stop them from what they're doing. And if they are impaired, or if we do see something that we can take action on, we will do that. And then there's the sheriff's office number. You can always just call the sheriff's office and report it over the phone if you want. We'll have a staff member from records write down the information and send it over to me. Let's see, how am I doing on time? All right, I got just a few minutes left. I got to hurry up. So
now we're running late. We'll give you another 6 or 7 minutes at least.
I can do that. All right. Crash and traffic stop data for the CPO. This is getting into your area, but we base our numbers on our patrol beats, so they don't exactly match up with the CPO boundaries. You can see crashes for, well, let me go to the next slide. This is kind of an overview. You got the numbers here, and then the heat maps. Crashes, this is for the first quarter of 2024, January through March. 17 crashes in January, 17 in February, and 13 in March. And then traffic stops, you can see about 140 traffic stops over those 3 months. We are active out there getting cars stopped as often as we can, and trying to minimize those crashes. There's a heat map of our crashes from that screen you saw before. So you can kind of see, Barnes, Cornell area, where the usual suspects, where the major arterials where you would expect to see crashes. That's where they are. Over here is your traffic stops, and I'll go back one slide and you can compare, but you can see same thing. We've got a big cluster of them here up in Cedar Mill in the same area. This is traffic stops, and you can see that it's the same area where we're seeing the crashes. So we are responding to the areas where we're finding the crashes and doing our best to try and minimize those. I know I've gotten at least a few complaints about Barnes. I'll talk about Barnes real briefly here in a minute. Before the meeting, I was back and forth on some emails with some folks about some of the bigger concerns. And one of those was staffing of traffic patrols or the traffic team at the office. And like I mentioned, our numbers, our staffing numbers for the team have not declined in several years. I would say at least 7 or 8 years, we haven't had any decline, probably longer than that. So we've stayed nice and steady with our staffing, which is good, because we're struggling with patrol staffing, but our agency does understand the importance of traffic safety and how reducing the crashes reduces the deaths and injuries, which are the, that's life safety. Like I said, this is the most important thing that we do. So traffic patrols, traffic stops, I'll say in general, we are also one of the agencies that did not stop our self-initiated and traffic enforcement when COVID hit. Yes, we minimized it, or reduced it somewhat. Yes, we took extra precautions, but we did not stop our traffic enforcement when COVID hit. And you'll see some of that on the next slide. It was down in 2020 about 1/3. So we were still doing 2/3 of the stops that we had done in 2019 after 2020 hit. Since 2020, since that initial drop, we've had a steady annual increase in the number of stops that our office has done, office-wide. Traffic stops are still in the top 3 of deputy self-initiated activities. So along with premise checks and special details, traffic stops are right there in the top 3. But when we do see issues, when it comes to maybe some of the reasons that we don't do the number of stops we were doing 10 years ago, we have the factors of our overall staffing. We have the COVID effects on training styles, the way that recruits were trained, and to frankly, during COVID, when we had recruits, it was, hey, we need you to sit in a parking lot and take as many calls over the phone as we can until things started relaxing a little bit. So we had a whole group of recruits that learned that, hey, they didn't learn policing the same way that I learned it 20 years ago. And there's a long road to getting that other type of policing instilled in them. If you understand what I'm saying, like we're working on it and we're trying to show them, hey, this is how policing really is now that COVID's done and over with, and getting them up to speed with that is a work in progress. And then also the 2020 safety concerns. Around that same time, we had the riots. We had a lot of anti-police sentiment, and frankly, police were there were a lot of officers. I'm talking everywhere, nationwide. Officers were like, "Hey, if I'm not going to put myself out there and risk getting ambushed or risk getting sued, if I don't have to, if I can just sit and take my calls all day and not put myself out there, I don't have to." And so that's that. I mean, really, I think that has pretty much taken care of itself. We're over that, but that was a struggle for a while. Now, there's the chart showing the initial drop. In 2018, our office did 26,000 plus traffic stops. It dropped a little bit in 2019, but then you see the big drop in 2020 and a slow, steady increase. This last year in 2023, we broke 20,000 again, and I think we're on pace to probably break 21 or 22,000 this year. So we're on a good road. Okay, so some of the issues that in that email exchange I got before the meeting, as I was preparing this, one of the problems that I hear very frequently is vehicle noise. Hey, I've got this car with this super loud exhaust. I've got this car that's got its music blaring all night long when it's driving by. Can you stop it? And there are a couple of statutes that we can use. We have causing unreasonable noise with vehicle. This has to be on a highway. And when I say highway, it's any public roadway. That's the state's definition of a highway. Any public roadway, whether it's a residential street or whether it's I-5. Any motor vehicle causes any noise or sound greater than necessary than is necessary for proper operation. So if somebody has one of those aftermarket mufflers that's just and you can hear it for 2 blocks away, I can stop that car and go, hey, I know that's not the stock muffler that Honda put on that car. When did you get that done? Oh, I had it done a couple years ago. Oh, great. Why do you need that muffler on there for this car to operate properly? And the answer is almost always, well, I don't. It just sounds cool. That's a violation. And they can get a citation for $115 for that. This one is unreasonable sound amplification. So this one applies to the guy who's got the huge booming bass, or he's got his windows down all the time and blaring his music. Has to be plainly audible outside of a vehicle from 50 feet or more. So there's a little bit of, there's a distance aspect to this, a distance component. Has to be on public highway or premise open to the public. Premise open to the public can be any, like public parking lot, anywhere the public can generally go. And there are some exceptions to it for special vehicles, special situations. Also a Class D traffic violation, $115. These right here, real quick, vehicle noise related to exhaust brakes. You hear those semi trucks that go down the road and as they're slowing down. This is their engine brakes. I get a lot of complaints for these in residential areas. Unfortunately, there's not really anything we can do with the laws that we have in place. Our county ordinance back in the late 90s was pretty much made obsolete by the Federal Aviation Administration Authorization Act that said states cannot enforce interstate commerce laws that are not related to safety. So if I've got a commercial vehicle rolling down the road, if I see a violation or hear a violation with that vehicle, if it's not something related to safety, I can't take enforcement action on it. And so that's pretty much the crux of our exhaust brake ordinance that says all use of exhaust brakes is prohibited. Now, the same thing, the advice from county council back then in 2001 was that the state statute that covers unmuffled engine braking is probably also not enforceable. But that one is specific to unmuffled engine braking, and that has problems of its own, that really anything in between the combustion chambers of the engine and the end of the tailpipe on the truck, if there's anything in there that could possibly hamper the sound, it's considered a muffler. So it's really, really hard to enforce that one anyways. So that, I hope that answers some questions on noise and what we can do and what we can't do. And then another one was concerns about whether there's noise. We're seeing things about noise cameras around the country. There's, I know there's photo red light, there's photo radar. Why can't the county, or why doesn't the county set up traffic cameras and do photo enforcement like I see in Portland, or like I see in Tigard or Sherwood or Beaverton? The short answer is we can't. The authority for those cameras is set in state statute on who can operate them and under what circumstances. And right now, that is exclusive to city municipalities. So for photo red light, only cities are authorized, and it's only for running the red light or violating the speed limit by at least 11 miles per hour or more. And then there's some other circumstances where you can use the cameras to prove crimes like felonies and misdemeanors. Photo radar has 10 specific authorized jurisdictions. Those are mainly cities in kind of the metro area. And then also I think Bend, Eugene, and Medford are included in there. But there are specific conditions on how and when and where it can be operated, by biennial reporting requirements on the effectiveness and whatnot, and then how you have to issue or how you can issue citations based on photo radar. So I hope I didn't go too far over. I know I really blew through that, but does anybody have any specific questions about anything I talked about, or any concern about any areas that I might not know about where I can send my team? And then while we're doing that, I'm going to put my info up here real quick.
I rarely see motorcycle officers in our area. Do they run on kind of randomized random patrols, or do they have regular routes that they go on? How does that work?
They don't have any.
I'm not out in traffic a lot, so I've got to say that.
Yeah, they don't have any regular routes that they run. I let them, for the most part, figure out where they need to go and when they need to go there. They have the database that they, I affectionately say they live and die by the complaint database. That has the majority of what they need to do within that database. But we also have traffic safety grants that require work in certain areas, like sometimes we need to be on the highways. Sometimes we need to be enforcing certain things for our traffic safety grants. But yeah, they're free to pretty much go where they want. If I get information that they like say for instance, you have a hot spot there at Saltzman and Cornell. If I get a few complaints and I realize, oh, they haven't been up there yet, maybe they haven't seen it or whatever, and I can shoot them an email or I can give them a call and say, hey, Deputy so and so, we're getting some repeat issues here. Can you go hit it a couple times and see what's going on? We're also looking into possibly using our WCSO volunteers. We're in the very, very early stages of that discussion, but having volunteers go out in plane vehicles and monitor some of these locations where we're getting a number of complaints and seeing how bad the problem is, or if it's a problem, or when we can narrow down days and times so that we can better deploy my guys, because I have 5 motorcycle deputies for the entire county, and with the 300 plus complaints I get every year into our system, they're running really, really thin with all the special events that they get tasked with doing, and everything else that goes on throughout all of their training days and everything that goes on throughout the course of the year. So, but if there is an area that needs extra attention, I will always tell you or any other CPO, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So don't be afraid to fill out those complaints or call or shoot me an email. Best way to get a hold of me is through email. But yeah, send in those complaints. Let me know, because if we don't see it, we don't know about it. So let us know and I'll get people out there.
Great. Well, I'm not seeing any hands going up, so I think you did a fabulous job. You're a good public speaker in addition to being a good deputy manager of your department.
I just want to say thank you, Sergeant Wilson.
Yeah,
Great job.
absolutely.
You're welcome.
Great.
Yes, and if you didn't take my information down, I'll get that PowerPoint over in one way or another, so that if anybody needs to.
CPO1 leaders.
Is it leader or leaders? Is it plural?
Leaders.
Leaders. Okay.
CPO1 leaders at gmail.org.
Great. I'll send it here very shortly. Actually, I'm going to convert it to PDF and I'll send it that way.
Thanks so much. You really answered a lot of questions. Very, very helpful.
I'm happy to come give updates.
Everybody, now that you know we have that Dear Motorist letter, you can be extra vigilant about getting that description, car description, driver description, and license plate, so that if we see these repeat offenders that folks were talking about, we can send them a Dear Motorist letter. All right. Thanks. Let's move along to the next segment of the meeting then. We have Tangerine and Reza with Tangerine is with Ride Connection and Reza is with Washington County. Currently planning a new shuttle to in the Bethany and Cedar Mill area, connecting PCC Rock Creek campus to the communities of Bethany and Cedar Mill to the Sunset Transit Center. We'll be able to see the route that they're planning and learn about the target ridership, and you guys can share your comments. So take it away.
Thank you, Virginia.
Yes, thank you very much, Virginia, for that introduction. Good evening. My name is Reza Farhoudi. I'm a transportation planner with Washington County Land Use and Transportation, and we're happy to be here tonight to discuss with you the planned new shuttle in the Bethany and Cedar Mill areas. All right. Yes, so I'm Reza Farhoudi, and I'm also here with Tangerine Behair. She's the lead service planner with Ride Connection. And so tonight we're going to discuss, give you kind of an overview of how the shuttle came about, and Tangerine will provide an overview of the Ride Connection organization and the services they provide in Washington County. We'll dive deeper into the new route that's being planned. And then I will discuss a project to enhance shuttle stops throughout Washington County for the shuttle services that Ride Connection provides, including for this new shuttle route in the Bethany and Cedar Mill areas. And then we can leave some time at the end for Q&A. So the county every 2 years is required by the state to develop a transit development plan. Basically what this is, so the House Bill 2017, which was passed in 2017, included an employee payroll tax. And this money goes towards operating transit service throughout the state. Washington County, we're responsible primarily for the rural areas. So everything you see in the green there is outside of the TriMet Service District, as well as the Smart Service District in orange. So we're responsible for services in those areas. We also help facilitate connections into the TriMet District from more outlying counties, such as Tillamook County and Yamhill County. And in addition, we receive an allocation from TriMet's payroll tax receipts, and those go towards funding first, last mile community and job connector shuttles in areas that don't have adequate or any TriMet fixed route service, whether that's rail or bus. And Ride Connection operates several of those within Washington County. And the new one that we're just about to launch in the coming months is this PCC Rock Creek to Sunset shuttle. So Ride Connection, we contract with them. They're a private nonprofit. They operate our public transportation within rural Washington County, as well as those urban shuttle routes. They help leverage funding from a variety of sources, including local, federal, state, as well as private donations. They also take the lead on community partnerships and engagement with community-based organizations, as well as other partners. So now I'm going to pass it over to Tangerine, and she'll tell you more about the services that Ride Connection provides.
So Ride Connection, we provide transportation in the Tri-County area. We are direct providers in Washington and in Multnomah County. A little history about Ride Connection. We began in the mid-1980s when a TriMet citizen committee recommended that a volunteer transportation volunteer program be set up to meet the needs of older adults and people with disabilities. We did our first trip or ride as a TriMet project in 1986, and in May of 1988, we did our first trip as a private nonprofit. The first year we provided like 11,700 trips. And then in the most recent fiscal year, we did around 300,000 trips. So we provide a lot of our focus is older adults and people with disabilities, but we also do a lot of community connectors, which is that connection to that first last mile, connection to home, connection to work type services. Next slide, please. So yeah, on community connections, community connectors, it's a free, all of our services are free. The community connectors are open to general public. Anybody can use the service. On the screen, we have like Westlink, which is basically, let's start with GroveLink. GroveLink is a community connector within the city of Forest Grove. Westlink connects City of Forest Grove, Banks, North Plains, and Hillsborough Transit Center. We have a new service coming on board, which is called the Cornelius Link. It's starting July 22nd. It serves the city of Cornelius. We have North Hillsborough Link, which is just north of the Orenco station, serving some businesses out there. And then we have the Tualatin shuttle, serving the city of Tualatin. We are always looking for, we have a volunteer driver program, always looking for volunteer drivers. We provide free training. If you have maybe a few hours in a week or in a month, please reach out to maybe just help your own family member, relatives, or maybe neighbors within the community. We have another program called Shared Vehicle Agreement. This is where usually we have a vehicle set up to a certain type of service. And especially evenings and weekends, we don't have like that vehicle is not put to its full use. So especially we work with other organizations, nonprofit, other groups where we have a shared vehicle agreement. You do need a designated driver, and we provide those driver trainings for free, but that's another program that we provide. Also, we provide door-to-door service that is for older adults and people with disabilities. It's presently, like, you can even avail of that service if you go to Right Connections website and call the service center. They can provide that service. Another program that we have is called Ride Together. It's a program that empowers the rider to recruit their own driver, be it a family member, a relative, a neighbor, and the driver gets reimbursed for mileage. Next slide, please. So just to get an idea of what are the impacts, values, and benefits of transit. Of course, those community connections and quality of life enhancements, those are important to get to jobs, healthcare, grocery shopping, other services. Mobility for residents and commuters who do not have access to a vehicle. I think in that sometimes you have more family members and less available cars. That is a good indication, good place where people can use transit. Also, transportation for older adults, people with disabilities, and then student and youth. And I think student and youth, there is two groups of people, two types of students. One is those who want to be independent and not have to rely on their parents to take them from point A to point B. And then there's the youth that might be ready to drive that car, but we kind of want them to push it back before they can really afford buying a car, the insurance and everything that comes with it. So that's that second set of group of youth. It's a safe transportation option during inclement weather, and then provides those connections to the TriMet light rail, bus rail, those regional connections to Tillamook Wave, Point Transit. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed shuttle. It's going to serve North Bethany, Bethany Village, Cedar Mill. It's a free public service open to everyone. It's right now, this is the service span that we are looking at from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays. I'd like to hear feedback on that. We're thinking it will take approximately 45-minute frequency. So so the bus comes at 8 o'clock and the next bus will come at 8:45. And it's starting in fall 2024 in time for PCC classes. Next slide, please. And so here's the route option that we're looking at. It will serve PCC, Rock Creek. It'll go up North Bethany, serve the Brugger Road, come down Kaiser, serve Bethany Village. And then we have two options. One option, which is in kind of red, serves the Kaiser Road. 143rd Road then goes down south and serves Sunset High School on Science Park Drive, and then get on the highway and then connect with the Sunset Transit Station. The second option will serve Thompson Road, Salzman Road, and then Laidlaw, and then Stoller Middle School, which is located there. Next slide, please. Yeah, so community feedback that we've received so far. One is at PCC Rock Creek. A lot of people were excited to hear about the service. Priority was, consistent 45-minute service. Saturday was ranked lower because many times they have family members or neighbors who can take them to college, and so that was ranked lower. We also presented to the ASIO, They preferred the Thompson option, which is that purple option, purple route option that you saw in the previous slide. That was to access the TVFR station and Findlay Elementary. It was not so much the purpose of it, but they wanted access to these community locations where they can meet as a group. And so that was something that was of interest to them. And then, of course, North Bethany was a popular destination, but difficult to access on transit just because of the way the roads are set up. And then this is our ongoing and upcoming outreach. We are going to be this Thursday at the Bethany Library Annex for the summer concert. We'll be getting feedback there. August 10th, we'll be at the Cedar Mills Farmers Market outside of Safeway. And then we are in connection with some of the employers like Columbia Sportswear and Toshio Quartz. Next slide, please. So this is where we want to hear feedback from you, like which route makes the most sense, that red route there or the purple route, we can go back to that route. But also want to hear other areas or destinations to serve, specific hours it should serve, any areas or events for outreach, other feedback. And then I know Virginia, we've sent you a survey. And so that closes on August 11th. Reach out to Virginia to get a link to that online survey. At this time, I'd like to get, should we wait till the end till we get feedback, Reza? You're muted, sorry.
Yeah, I just have a couple more slides. Let's go through and then we can.
I'm sure there will be, but go ahead and finish.
Sounds good.
Great, thank you, Tangerine. So I want to discuss now the county's project to do some shuttle stop enhancements for the Ride Connection countywide system. So the purpose of this grant we received from the state was to enhance the customer experience and also increase awareness among the community for the Ride Connection system. Several of the stops, not just Hillsborough, Tualatin, some of the stops lack signage, they lack amenities like landing pads for folks with mobility challenges. And so we're trying to provide those amenities, those accessibility improvements. So as part of this grant, we are identifying locations to install signs and schedule information at the very least, and then landing pads, benches, shelters as needed and as the budget will allow. And because this route is within unincorporated Washington County, the county would be responsible for the long-term maintenance of the stops along this route. Typically in the other shuttles, those have all been located inside cities. And so in that case, we would be adopting an intergovernmental agreement with the cities in question, and they would be responsible for that day-to-day maintenance. So we are currently in the process of locating and designing these new shuttle stops. The project is scheduled for completion in spring of next year. So the shuttle will actually open first. The shuttle route will open first, and we'll be using temporary signage in the meantime until we can get the signs and other infrastructure installed. A couple of areas we wanted to highlight. One location right by Columbia's campus and Sunset High School on Science Park Drive. We're looking at putting in a mid-block crossing to allow folks, if we do place a stop there, folks will be able to cross the street more safely along that stretch of Science Park Drive. The other thing we're doing is working with other county staff on, for instance, the Kaiser Road project in North Bethany. We'll be filling in sidewalk gaps. And so we're planning the location of several new stops as part of that project so that folks can safely access the new shuttle. And now will be a good time for questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I may have missed it, but what kind of a vehicle is going to be used?
That's a really good question. I think we have a picture of it, I think, on slide It's the Ride Connection overview slide. It's a 14-passenger vehicle, one of the smaller shuttles.
Ah, okay.
Is it a volunteer driver?
No, it's a paid driver. All of the community connectors are on paid drivers. But some of our door-to-door services, we have volunteer drivers.
If you could bring the map back up. Yeah. It really does a very good job of mostly avoiding Cedar Mill. And that's why I've been calling it the Bethany shuttle, because I mean, it really isn't practical and you can't see my pointer, but I'm going all over the majority of the middle of Cedar Mill. Do you envision people taking a bus to one of these stops? Or if that was the case, why would they not just get on a bus? The second option that would take people over to Saltzman would serve about, I don't know, 300 or 400 homes, whereas something in the middle there, which is one of the first suggestions that I saw, I guess it was an early draft, would at least have gone on Cornell. And I can understand wanting to avoid Cornell at rush hour. We'd all be happy to never drive on at rush hour on Cornell. But so I guess I mean, there's a lot of people in apartment buildings on Cornell and down Barnes who would probably appreciate this nice, easy way to get to PCC. And this is not going to solve that problem. So I guess I'm asking you for an idea of a persona of your ideal rider who's going to use this.
Yeah, I can hear your concern. I know a couple of questions, but I think the rider that we're looking at is a commuter, could be an older adult using it.
A commuter from where to where?
To get to the Sunset Transit Center, because that's where the connection will be.
So from Bethany to the Sunset Transit Center?
Yes.
Okay. Which, again, it doesn't address anybody in Cedar Mill.
I'll address your second part of your question, Virginia. So we initially had looked at a route on Barnes and Cornell. We'd been told by TriMet staff that we should, if possible, avoid duplicating their bus routes because TriMet does serve those corridors. But
there isn't a bus that goes from there to PCC, is there?
Correct. And so that's why that Science Park and Cornell location would be a place for someone to transfer if they wanted to. We are providing that opportunity, but we're trying to have some kind of separation from the line 20 and the line the 48, the 62, and then portions of line 20 that operate on Cornell and Barnes roads. And that's why we looked at this option. Another desire for us was to serve the Columbia campus, because we have heard in the past that was a location that was difficult to access on transit. And we think there is a possibility that with this service that goes right to several of their buildings that are off Cornell and Murray, they're not as easy to get to. We think there could be substantial ridership that way as well.
That makes sense. But it still does seem to leave out an awful lot of our community.
And also, I think part of it was, there were a couple of destinations that we were looking at: Portland Community College, Bethany Village, Sunset High School, of course, Sunset Transit Station. And people wanted good frequency, and it was kind of the direct route as opposed to the long route that would deviate from it. And so that's why that kind of route was looked at, these options. We did look at options on Bonnie Slope and other options, but I think it was difficult to serve, especially during winter, some of these roads.
Oh, yeah.
And so.
And not much connectivity. We are a difficult area to serve, that's for sure. And because of that, everybody's got cars.
Right. And the benefit of a service like this, it's a deviated fixed route. So buses are able to deviate somewhat off the route if requested. And the benefit too is Ride Connection is a pretty nimble service. If there are changes in the area that warrant looking at the route again, they're certainly willing to do so. So whatever route is chosen for the initial launch of the service doesn't mean it's set in stone.
Okay, are there any more questions? We have a quiet audience tonight. Bruce, you got anything to add?
I am just actually blown away at a private nonprofit this integrated into the transportation system. It's there we go. It's remarkable that this is a service. I was wondering why didn't go from Science Park up to Cornell and down Cornell, and the avoiding the TriMet lines is certainly an understandable reason. I'm sort of scratching my head. Is there a fee for this, or is this a free service?
It is a free service.
It's a free service. There are so few of those
Yeah.
in the world.
And I think that's to kind of, it's free to the end user so that it removes barriers to who can use it and who cannot use it.
Pam.
Hi, guys. I just want to say thank you for bringing this information forward. And just for those of us that are on this call, I've had the opportunity, it was quite a while ago actually, to ride the Grove Link, which really starts where the TriMet bus line stops and circles throughout the area in Forest Grove. And it's really well utilized by a lot of people, schools, churches, all sorts of senior citizens. It's really a very interesting and very popular system. So my hat's off to you both for bringing this information forward and to working it through to our areas that have such limited service by TriMet and trying to link those points together. And I think that's the whole key here is how do we link the public transportation through this type of service.
So just to clarify, 45 minutes would be between the Sunset Transit Center and PCC. That would be 45 minutes.
It's actually more. It's around 90 minutes.
So there'll be multiple vehicles?
There's 2 buses on it. That's why it makes it 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's Tangerine, I think she's wanting to know, is it 45 minutes for the runtime or
no, it's 90 minutes for the runtime.
And that's round trip, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, actually, I think it's it is round trip. Yep, it is a round trip for 90 minutes.
Which would be 45 minutes each way, more or less.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right if it's going to make all those stops. What do you have projections on how many people would be using it after, give it 6 months for it to settle in?
Yeah, we don't have projections till we actually start the service. We do kind of target those central destinations that people use, but we don't really have a good projection or a reliable projection to say.
And then are there benchmarks for whether it's a success? Are you going to run it for a year? Or?
Yes, I mean, we definitely have internally, we will analyze and look at the data to make sure that it's being properly used and whether we need to make changes to the route. Yeah, and we have, like Reza mentioned, if somebody wants to deviate off the route and we find that a lot of people are deviating to a certain location, we might even think about changing the route to that location.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing this. I can't say I have a strong preference one way or the other for the route up Saltzman, although it might serve a few more people. I don't see a stop up there. So one stop will be at the fire station and another stop will be at Stoller, and the rest of it's just the scenic route.
Yeah, so I think one thing to note is we have designated stops, but we also have what is called flag stops. So if you wait along the route, you can make a big wave and the bus will stop. So it's kind of a little informal in that sense because we don't have too many stops along the route. So as long as it's not a high, because we have some friendly drivers, but we want a big wave, you can use two hands to say, "Hey, I'm stop, pick me up" type things. But yeah, we do have a flag stop system in place.
I'm sure you realize that this area there by the fire station is not going to be accessible while all the road work is going on.
Yes,
huge detours in there. So.
And Regina, you've caught on to something too with that purple route. The lack of sidewalks and the high speeds make it difficult to find places to stop. And if you notice, most of these, I think all of these stops pretty much, we've identified places where there's a safe place to cross, and there's just too few and far between on that purple route. So that will definitely come into play when we decide which one to go forward with.
I mean,
it's just
I could envision somebody dropping their kids off at for example, at Findlay Elementary, and then going on up to PCC to take some classes. So that might make a good stop when the road work is all done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the same with Stoller, I suspect.
Yeah, and same with Sunset. Students at Sunset High School, if they want to take classes at PCC during the day or have an arrangement, this would allow them to make that connection as well.
That makes sense. Okay, well, not hearing any questions. If you want to bring your contact information page up again for a few minutes, a few seconds, whatever. There we go. Okay, TB here. I like it. At rideconnection.org, Razif Hudi at washingtoncounty.org.gov. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate
it. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have got CPO news. Mary Mansell from CPO 7 and I have been working on a project to try to bring about some corrections to the county segment of the OEICE website that relates to CPOs and CCI, and we're meeting with somebody tomorrow afternoon about that. CPO 7 will not be meeting in July or August, and we are not meeting in August unless something huge comes up, which we're hoping it doesn't. I have a few development updates. I have an image from the meeting this morning. I'm bringing that up, and I will share my screen. This is the favored proposal for bicycle and pedestrian facilities on the section of Thompson that I've been calling the Thompson Curves. It stretches from Saltzman all the way to nearly where Bruce's house is here at Marcotte. And the recommendation is to give them the full meal deal on this segment with center turn lanes, on-street buffered bike lanes, and buffered bike lanes are bike lanes with a painted space between the travel lanes and the bike lanes, and a 10-foot multi-use path on the north side, which could be used for people if they want to bring their kids riding their bikes on that 10-foot multi-use path on the north side. and then a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side. At the current time, I believe those have very narrow sidewalks on both sides, just for that little stretch. And then this is the stretch that goes up and over this eyebrow lot here, which is slated at some point in the untellable future to be developed, which prevented the Thompson from being straightened out. I'm sure you all remember that brouhaha if you were around at the time. And that would have a center turn lane, on-street buffered bike lanes, and 6-foot sidewalk on both sides. And a few of the areas along here have sidewalks that were built during development, and some of them don't. So that would provide better access to, and they mentioned that there eventually, once all the road work is done, there will be a park at the southwest corner of Saltzman and Thompson, or actually Thompson's going to run through it. And then the final section, the straight part, is highly constrained because there are lots and lots of driveways that come into it. And all of this is going to cost quite a bit in terms of acquiring right-of-way. But this section is proposed to be curb-tight sidewalk and on-street buffered bike lanes and no center turn lane. So that's what LUT was proposing to the board this morning, and the board said they liked it and they approved it. I don't know if it was got a formal approval or not, but yes. Go ahead. Oh,
Are you talking to me?
No.
What? Are you talking to me? Are you talking to Mary Lou?
Mary Lou. I wish you didn't have those initials. I can never remember.
I didn't.
I know who you are.
I didn't put them there. I think somebody
well,
decided.
you can change them.
I think somebody decided
you can change them in your Zoom account. But anyway, there we are.
Somebody
Go
decided.
ahead with your question.
My question is, how many millions of trees are going down in order to widen that road?
They aren't talking about widening the road at this point. They're just talking about the types of bicycle facilities. But, you know, trees will go down.
Yeah, but if they put 10-foot pathways and all that.
I don't think there are an awful lot of trees along that section of the road, are there?
I don't know.
I don't think there are.
It's better to take down big trees and plant appropriate trees rather than keep big trees that fall on your houses and across the road.
Much of it
is a completely different subject.
Right. Well, when in the pictures that they showed us this morning of existing conditions, and we can all drive around there and look at it, for the most part, it's gravel ditches and either sidewalks or just dirt and grass. It is not a tree-lined street. So I think, buffered bike lanes, and, you know, our county chair is a huge bicycle fan. And so the county has regulations about adding bike lanes to all new road development, which goes some way towards explaining the multi-use path on the Thompson project too. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's been sort of embodied in county policy. Pam, you may want to speak to that.
I just wanted to say a couple things. The addition for bike opportunity really started way before Catherine came on board. I just want to say that.
It did. Yeah. You're right.
And she is a bicycle enthusiast, but I didn't want to tie those two things together. So totally. The other piece I just wanted to mention, you had asked, you weren't, or you had said you weren't sure what the end result was. The commissioners all gave thumbs up to the project, but there will be a hold to make sure that it goes under review of our county council in relationship to safety issues. So
Yes,
that's what that
I
was.
remember that.
And
Right.
Mary Lou, Virginia is pretty accurate in relationship to from that intersection of Salzman and Thompson all the way east and up. There's a lot of exposed right of way already. So, and there's like it goes up against developments that haven't had tree plantings along that area.
I was shocked to see one development that just had a big old brick wall and no sidewalk.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty interesting. The other thing that it really does provide access to is Finley School and also the park that will come in at that other corner. And Virginia, if you put up that photo or that rendition one more time, I'd like to point out that I think LUT did a really good job of changing the types of access based on what availability there was along that road. So that's why there's the 3 different sections, the blue section, the orange section, and the green section. The other thing is that the yellow dotted lines on that map are parallel biking areas as well. So I'm just pointing that out so that
alternate possibilities, right?
Yeah, so that people know what it is.
And there is a park somewhere off to the east down here too. There's Bonnie Slope Park.
Mm-hmm.
So having increased bicycle and pedestrian facilities in this area, and one comment that was made was, if they build it, people will come. And people were talking about observing increased pedestrian activities once it was safe. And right now,
what's the elevation rise here? Do you happen to know?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
Well, because it's a it's a fairly big hill.
It's a slope up this way.
Yeah, it's a
fairly steep slope up this way.
Yeah.
And then I think it evens out along here. I'm not recalling a particular.
Well, I take that route.
Bruce probably knows more about it than I do.
I take that route frequently, and because I live right up here, at the far end there. So yeah,
it is a climb. You're right.
It's a climb, and so that's why I was kind of wondering about the 10-foot pathways. It's kind of tough to put.
Well, that's only going to be right along in this area.
It's just kind of
multi-use, and that's intensive multi-use to serve the school for people. So all these people up in this area who have kids who want to walk to school or who want to go with their kids on their bicycle can make use of that part by using this alternate route through here and then down and onto the 10-foot path. So I think that, if they'd wanted to put 10 foot all the way along, that would have been less workable and less easy to justify, I should think.
I'm curious what Mary Lou was going to say.
Sorry.
I was just saying that sometimes we plan these pathways on hills where it's pretty difficult for somebody to, like, pushing a baby carriage or something. It's kind of difficult, or little kids that are trying to ride their bike. It's kind of hard.
Well, this section of it will have buffered bike lanes.
It's tough to ride your bike up there.
Multi-use path. This is the only part of it where people would be very likely to have children on bicycle.
Yeah. The up the green part should be interesting what that ends up looking like.
Right, Pam?
I would suggest, if anyone is interested in looking at these different segments, in the packet today for the work session, it pretty clearly shows what the different widths are. So that way you'd know. And it also shows where we have to gain right of way to do that. So I just this picture is kind of the culmination, and the other informational pieces show you what the different segments are. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Right. If anybody is interested, I'm not sure that it's going to be up now, but I think I have a copy of the presentation. I think I captured that. If not, I'm sure we can get it from LUT.
It's in the packet for today.
Virginia, did you know that Fran wanted me to talk about a webinar that Tree Keepers is putting on?
Yes, I need to finish the CPO report part of it first, because my husband just asked if I fed the dog. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I did. Sorry, life intrudes. So I'll quickly run through the rest of the CPO news. The 4-lot middle housing that was proposed for Northwest 113 opposite Melody Lane has been approved. Middle housing has a quicker development through line and less community involvement because it satisfies the need for more housing. And we've been told by the state that that's how we have to do it. There is a public hearing scheduled for the Dale development, and some of you may remember that there is a proposal to put 7 townhomes down at the end of Dale, south of Cornell, and that is going to have a public hearing on Thursday, July 18th. All of this stuff is in CPO News in the current issue of Cedar Mill News. And the Cedar Hills apartment, and I'll briefly share my screen for that one if I can get back to it really quickly. Here we go. So the Cedar Hills apartment, and we talked about this last time, the DMV and Harbor Freight are going to stay where they are, and this is going to be apartments with commercial on the lower level. They applied for an extension, and in the approval, Beaverton, it was the agency, was the jurisdiction on this. And the developer said that, first of all, he has been having trouble getting financing. And then secondly, they've been having difficulties negotiating the ends of the leases for the other businesses that are in the existing shopping center along here. So, but that was approved. The 2-year extension was approved. The development itself was approved nearly 2 years ago, which is why they're coming back for an extension. And now it's time for It's Your CPO. And Mary Lou, it is your turn to talk to about the Tree Keepers activity.
Okay. Occasionally we have webinars. We produce webinars. Sometimes we've met in person, but it seems to be lately it's just easier to do it via remotely via Zoom. So I just looked at the date. And unfortunately, it's at the same time as Pam's town hall. So I don't know how that happened, but it's on July 17th at 6:30. And the way you sign up is you go to treekeeperswc.org and you register, and then they'll send you the information of how to sign on to the Zoom. I don't know how long it lasts though. I know it starts at 6:30, but I'm not really sure how long it lasts. But the guest is Ryan Gilpin, and he is a principal consultant at this consulting firm that he's apparently a consulting arborist, and he has some really good ideas and expertise on developing ordinances for saving trees. And so
Right.
he is our speaker. And so
And that's the topic of the talk, is what are the problems and what are the methods to develop tree protection?
yes, he is an authority on this sort of thing. So he has studied different ordinances that are all over North America, and he's willing to study our unincorporated areas in Washington County so that eventually someday we can have some sort of ordinances to protect existing trees here. Because as you know, there is no protection right now, except in the cities. So anyway, so that's the
Great.
topic.
Maybe we can do a little of both. Mine starts at 6 and goes to 7.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I apologize for that, Mary Lou.
And yours is in person, and this is by Zoom. So maybe somebody can have their laptop or their iPad or something, and they can sign in a little bit later.
Well, it's a great topic. It's certainly something that we've all been banging our heads against for the last at least 20 years that I've been involved in stuff. It was one of the first things we heard about.
Hopefully we can come up with some kind of solution for this.
A plan and a tree.
We just can't keep chopping down the trees. It's just not okay.
I love trees. I would save every tree in existence if there were a way to do it, but I'm up against forces that I can't control, as we all are.
Well, I know. You know,
I
we
love
need
your
housing, we
optimism.
need dense housing, we need housing, but that just means you've got a small lot and you fill it up with housing. There's no room for a tree. So,
Correct.
that's why we depend on street trees, and it kills me every time we cut them down, because we really depend on those street trees to stay there and grow big and form a canopy. And, we just keep chopping them down. It's just not good.
Right.
Okay,
we all agree with that.
End of my speech.
Well, that ends my agenda. So unless anybody has any more questions or comments, I would say that we can end the meeting 7 minutes early.
Cool.
Good night, everybody. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is Bruce still on?
I believe so.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Bruce. Is there anything that you wanted to add from the meeting today? I just want to open the door, Bruce.
Well, the advent of more scrutiny on the public meeting laws is being more sort of constraints on the public participation system. And as chair of the CCI, I would like to be able to answer what those questions are. I don't really feel like I have enough information, and I'm going to be meeting with Catherine, the chair, and county administration, Danny Ledesma, in a couple of weeks to get some direction on how to proceed with particularly the subject of when CPOs can act as a body as opposed to just individuals taking effort. So there's a modernization effort of the CPO system underway now, and I think that we'll be able to craft a very useful system in the future.
I just didn't want to end this meeting without recognizing the discussion that went on today, and just to say I'm always available for discussion too, Bruce. So thank you for being there.
Well, good. I just texted you.
Oh, good.
Well, one concrete result of the whole public meetings law and those difficulties is that, as many of you may have already noticed, we can't have chat anymore. And so I know, because somebody might say something in the chat, and it's a public meeting, and somebody might be responsible, and somebody might get sued. I suspect that had something to do with OSU backing out and leaving us to find a new home way back in that long ago past, that the
they canceled the division of OSU that was responsible. So it had nothing to do with public laws. It was purposes they stopped that program.
But we'd have
one quick note, Bruce. I don't believe I can promote my town hall through the CPO news. We can use CPO Facebook posting, but it's a personal thing that I'm doing, so I have to be really careful about not using county resources for that. So that's okay. and I really, you all know that I follow those rules really closely. It's important that we do. So that's
you know how to find me.
and I we're putting up little signs and that type of thing too. So I'm hoping people come, and I want to start doing this, several times. So, and I don't want to interfere with tree keepers, Miss O. You do know, may I tell the story, Mary Lou?
Sure.
Again and again and again. Both of my beautiful children were students of Miss O's. So she has a very special place in my heart. So and that's why I call her Miss O on these. Because that's how her multitude of students that are doing wonderful things out in the world today.
I know they could be 40 or 50 or 60 years old and they still call me Miss O.
I know who the boss is.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
All righty.
Life goes in circles, doesn't it?
Thank you, everybody, for coming. And with that, we adjourn. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.